I'm scared, a voice trembled. This woman wanted someone dead, yet one misstep could unravel everything. Release the message, they advised. Caution was paramount. In January 2023, the Northport police were taken aback when a man walked into the station, bearing shocking news. "Yeah, you're going to go to jail for that," he insisted. "That's illegal," he declared. "That house does not belong to you." But this was merely the tip of the iceberg in a dark and twisted scheme that was about to be exposed. The man had too much knowledge of a life built on lies. The unraveling began with an unexpected tip off to the Sarasota Police Department in January 2023. "You're here today to provide information regarding some kind of real estate scheme?" The officer probed. "Meet Chris," the officer introduced. "This is John Chamberlain, here to report on his longtime friend and current employer, 49-year-old Janine Jones." Little did John realize he was about to unlock a case filled with shocking twists. John explained she was buying up foreclosures and wanted me to handle the plumbing renovations. What started as a promising business opportunity quickly spiraled into something far more sinister. Janine, a landlord in Northport, Florida, owned 13 vacant houses, fixing them up for rent. For John, it was a golden opportunity, providing him with both extra cash and a roof over his head, courtesy of Janine. "I've been living there since June of last year," John recalled. Initially, everything seemed fine until Janine suddenly informed him that she no longer required his services and needed him to leave. Yet, John couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was amiss. Once his instincts kicked in, there was no turning back. He had witnessed tenants sneaking through windows and tampering with locks. "I changed the locks on all these properties to the same key," he stated, "but I don't go in there anymore. Here's the key if you want it." "I want nothing to do with it," he replied, realizing the depth of Janine's deception. She didn't actually own any of the properties. Rather, she orchestrated a meticulously crafted scam, renting out homes she had no claim to, fooling unsuspecting tenants while pocketing the profits. To lend an air of legitimacy to her operation, Janine produced forged property documents, claiming that the true owners had entrusted her with their homes in exchange for her covering their taxes. This elaborate scheme was just the beginning of her fraudulent empire. Janine was meticulous. She ensured that no evidence could trace back to her, employing a burner phone for communication with her rental clients. This calculated strategy was a testament to her desire for anonymity amidst her growing empire of deceit. John Chamberlain had unwittingly become entangled in Janine's web of deceit while working as her plumber. It wasn't until he uncovered the truth that the reality of the situation became clear. A tenant, believing she was legitimately renting a local property, was unaware of the deception brewing beneath the surface. As the door swung open, a man stood there, claiming to own the house. "I rent this house from Janine Jones," he asserted, only to be met with confusion. The occupants replied, "We don't even know who that person is." Yet, the man believed Janine was incapable of inflicting harm on her tenants. Driven by concern, he decided to confront her and issue a warning. I told him, "Yeah, you're going to go to jail for that." But how did this sinister plot come to fruition? To grasp John's chilling allegations, one must delve into the events that preceded this unsettling revelation. The officers knew they needed to rewind the clock. "Can you take me back to when you first met Janine?" one inquired. John recounted his introduction to Janine nearly 9 years ago, through church. He had formed a friendship with her husband, Max. Janine Jones, born in Tawas City, Michigan, had a past as a correctional officer at Charlotte County Jail in Florida. At that time, she was a 2-time divorcee, raising her young son when fate brought her together with Max in 1991. Janine's beginnings in Tawas City, Michigan, led her to a career as a correctional officer at Charlotte County Jail in Florida. She navigated life as a 2-time divorcee, raising her young son, and eventually met Max Jones, a carpenter, in 1991. Janine Jones married Max in 2001, on October 12th day. It wasn't long before she became pregnant with their first son, Zachary, affectionately known as Zach. In 2002, Max endeavored to be a responsible father, cherishing the moments spent with his children. "My happiest memories are with my father," Zach later recalled, his voice tinged with nostalgia. Max took Zach along on side jobs, allowing the young boy to witness his father's diligence firsthand. "It was always pretty cool to see my dad in action," Zach remembered fondly. 2 years later, in 2004, their family grew with the arrival of their daughter Alexandria. Their family seemed picture perfect, a model of happiness, until Janine lost her job years later. The reasons behind her dismissal raised immediate red flags. She confided that she had once worked as a prison guard, but had been let go due to an affair with an inmate. This revelation marked the beginning of a troubling descent. With Janine out of work, Max became the sole breadwinner, a burden that intensified stress and conflict within their marriage. Unbeknownst to them, a devastating turn of fate loomed ahead. On November 27, 2021, Max suffered a fatal heart attack at the age of 51, leaving behind a grieving family. Zach vividly recalled the moment he returned home to find two police officers waiting for him. They approached, delivering the heart-wrenching news of his father's passing. Confused and distraught, he turned to his mother for answers. He had a heart attack, she simply stated, a veil of grief shrouding her words. Janine appeared to embody the role of a devastated wife, now solely responsible for her children. But as fate would have it, she received a $1 million insurance payout from Max's death, a windfall she quickly invested in a real estate venture. However, this investment soon spiraled into a scam, setting the stage for Janine's rapid transformation. It was striking how quickly she seemed to move on with her life. The first noticeable change was her appearance, which took on a new and dramatic flair. Janine opted for breast surgery, a decision that raised eyebrows among those around her. Still, her friends dismissed their concerns, thinking, everyone grieves differently, what do I know? This transformation occurred just after Max's death. Seeking a fresh start, Janine moved her children to a new house. Yet, just 6 months after losing her husband, she plunged into a whirlwind of relationships, indulging in drugs and alcohol. It was during this tumultuous time that she met Matthew Smith, a 26-year-old who was half her age and only 2 years older than Zach. Zach remarked on his mother's rapid rebound right after her husband died, "I can't judge, but she was out there immediately with a new boyfriend." Matthew entered their lives as a cable technician shortly after Max's death. Upon their first meeting, Janine boldly suggested, "How would you like to be my boy toy?" To which Matthew eagerly responded, "I'd love to." He quickly settled into the role, enjoying the perks of being Janine's new companion, while she reveled in the attention. Janine lavished Matthew with gifts, spoiling him in ways few had ever witnessed. Yet this was merely the surface of a deeper, more complex relationship. Amy Wright, a close friend of Janine's, found herself drawn into the bizarre dynamics of their partnership. Late one night, Janine called Amy with an unexpected proposal. She suggested a threesome with her new boyfriend. Amy, taken aback, firmly declined, stating, "No, that is not my thing." Janine persisted, even proposing a relationship where Amy and she would be intimate while Matthew watched. Amy stood her ground, responding, "Yeah, that's not something I'm going to do either." Late one night, a call from Janine caught me off guard. She proposed an outrageous idea, a threesome with her and her new boyfriend. My immediate reaction was one of disbelief. "No, that is not my thing," I replied, shocked by her boldness. Undeterred, Janine then suggested an unconventional arrangement, asking if we could have a relationship while Matthew watched. I firmly declined, stating, "Yeah, that's not something I'm going to do either." This marked a pivotal moment in Janine's tumultuous romance with Matthew, which was about to take a dark turn. Her family was left reeling when they learned of her marriage to Matthew, just 6 months after the death of her first husband, Max. In July 2012, Janine stunned everyone by revealing during a family gathering that she and Matthew had secretly wed in Las Vegas. Her children were particularly shocked, grappling with the rapid changes in their mother's life. In the following month, Janine and Matthew embraced an extravagant lifestyle fueled by the profits from their new real estate venture. Matthew was not merely her husband, he quickly became her business partner. Everything unfolded at an astonishing pace. Before long, they owned 4 or 5 houses. I couldn't help but think, wow, this lady has a good business going for herself. Janine's troubled past was swiftly catching up to her. She had known Matthew Smith for only a few months before they impulsively married in Las Vegas. Just as their relationship blossomed, troubling whispers began to surface. It was revealed that Janine was under investigation for the alleged murder of her ex-husband, Max Jones. She confidently asserted that the inquiry was being dismissed, citing inconclusive evidence that had returned from the scene. John was determined to report Janine's suspicious activities. This was not the first time he sensed wrongdoing. He recalled troubling incidents where Janine's requests raised alarm bells, leading him to believe she was concealing dark secrets. Often, a lockbox would be found on the door, Janine claimed these properties had sat vacant for so long that no one could be contacted for the keys. This prompted John to drill locks off doors to gain access. After assisting her on a couple of occasions, he expressed his discomfort, stating, "I don't feel comfortable doing this. I don't involve myself in illegal activities." At that moment, he recognized her deep involvement in criminal dealings. In a desperate plea for transparency, John Chamberlain resolved to share everything he knew about the deceptive operations orchestrated by Janine Jones. Her erratic behavior had raised suspicions among the police, prompting them to delve deeper into her activities. They were already investigating her potential connection to the death of her first husband. Caught between the specter of murder allegations concerning her current husband and the looming fraud accusations, Janine found herself cornered, with few avenues left for escape. Yet, one critical question remained, shrouded in mystery. Janine's entanglement in the death of her first husband and the murder inquiries surrounding her current partner, compounded by fraud allegations, left her with dwindling options. Still, the central question lingered, begging for answers. Was Matthew truly oblivious, or was he a co-conspirator in Janine's schemes? Detective Jim questioned whether it was Janine, Matthew, or both who were orchestrating the fraud. Yet, there was no denying it. Both were complicit, as articulated by Matthew himself. Matthew disclosed that none of the properties were legally obtained and that he was working to set Janine up to earn between $10,000 and $15,000 each month. This revelation begged the question, who was the mastermind behind the operation? John was aghast at the transformation Janine had undergone. He was the only one privy to the full extent of her fraudulent activities, making him a target in her eyes. He was acutely aware that Janine recognized his knowledge of her misdeeds. There was an unspoken tension between them. John sensed something was amiss, yet Janine maintained an unsettling smile. It was as if they shared a deeper understanding, one that neither would dare articulate. However, it was evident that she harbored resentment toward him. The situation escalated dramatically when Janine had Matthew confront John with a summons. In a heated exchange, Matthew charged at John, screaming threats of violence, declaring he had 3 days to vacate the property as they were initiating an eviction. Janine didn't just file for eviction. She retained a lawyer to represent her in this matter, further solidifying her resolve to remove John from her life. Realizing he was entangled in a perilous situation, John swiftly reported Janine's fraudulent schemes to the authorities. Armed with the knowledge of her deceitful rental operation, he approached Detective Stewart and laid bare everything he had uncovered. With the information John provided, detectives felt they had enough evidence to advance their investigation. They were convinced that Janine was concealing even more secrets, and it was only a matter of time before the truth would be unearthed. As the officers prepared for what promised to be a complex investigation into Janine's fraudulent activities, they could not have anticipated the shocking developments that lay ahead. It was then that Janine's friend, Amy Wright, made a fateful call to the police station. In a shocking revelation that would disturb even the most seasoned officers, I received a call from a confidential informant. The informant disclosed that Janine had expressed a desire to have someone murdered. The target of Janine's malevolent ambitions was none other than John Chamberlain, the very man who had bravely reported her real estate fraud. John's integrity had put him squarely in Janine's sights. In a dangerous twist of fate, Janine's scheme had now turned her husband, John Chamberlain, into a target. His life hung in the balance, caught in the crosshairs of her chilling plot to eliminate him, an act that would leave an indelible mark on all those involved. Janine confessed her dark desire, expressing, "I wish I could get rid of him for good." When confronted, Janine's intentions became disturbingly clear. She stated her wish to be rid of John for good. The following day, she reached out again, asking, "Hey, do you think you could find somebody who could help me?" At a loss for words, I struggled to grasp the gravity of her request. She pressed on, insistent about her needs. "Hey, did you check on that favor for me?" She urged, her urgency palpable. After speaking with a contact, I assured her I would follow up. Later, Janine and Amy met at a restaurant called Sweet Tomatoes, where they plotted their next steps. Janine felt the walls closing in, but she was determined not to go down without a fight. She came prepared, weaving a plan so intricate that it seemed capable of outsmarting even the most astute detectives. I remained in shock at the unfolding situation. As they sat at the table, Amy questioned Janine's resolve. "Are you sure you want John dead, or have you thought about scaring him instead?" Janine's response was revealing. "That's why I was scared after he was in the house," she admitted. In a tense conversation, Becky pressed Janine, questioning whether she was certain about wanting John dead or if she had considered simply scaring him. Janine's response was chilling, revealing the depth of her resolve. That's why I was scared after he was in the house, she admitted, hinting at the fear that had overtaken her. With Janine's unwavering determination now laid bare, Becky inquired about the details, asking how she envisioned John's murder. How soon do you want it done? She probed, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily in the air. But Janine had already meticulously plotted her course of action. She was crafting an alibi, selecting a moment that would provide the perfect cover for her sinister intentions. Becky cautioned Janine about the severe risks tied to her deadly scheme, emphasizing the grave consequences of taking a life. Yet, Janine laid out her entire plan with a confidence that seemed designed to evade the watchful eyes of investigators. You said 25, and you said you wanted me, she remarked, oblivious to the danger that loomed. Becky made her own stance clear, expressing her reluctance to get involved in any trouble. Nonetheless, she knew someone who could execute Janine's plan flawlessly. Days later, Becky reached out to Janine with instructions for what she needed to do to get the plot underway. I want to put my credit card on that account, Janine declared, her voice steady. That's right, I know I only want cash. Did you get that worked out? The hitman acknowledged her request, signaling that the transaction was in order. I'm going to try and get the phone rack and go to Metro, Janine said, her excitement palpable as she received the call. She had been eagerly anticipating the call from the individual who would aid her in executing her plan. Morning. Hey, what's up? Little girl said you were looking to get some work done. How soon are you trying to have it done? The hitman pressed, gauging her urgency. Janine explained, I'm leaving next Wednesday for a cruise, and I'll be gone until Sunday, so it needs to be done either before that or after. Does that make sense? Yeah, I want it all written down, she requested, her voice steady. I need to know what he drives, who his friends are, and I need a photo. Can you get all that? Janine's calculated inquiries painted a chilling picture of her intentions. The moment Janine Jones had long anticipated had finally arrived. Together with her friend, Amy Wright, she prepared to meet the hitman, eager to discuss the execution of her sinister plan. Yet, as Janine settled into the car, her behavior grew increasingly erratic, bordering on absurd. When Janine finally met the hitman, she greeted him with a seemingly casual, hello, how are you doing? The hitman responded with a nod, his demeanor betraying no hint of the gravity of their conversation. I'm going to go back out. The price he doesn't know about will cover everything, she informed him, her words dripping with calculated intent. The hitman, however, was prepared and wasted no time. What he was about to hear from Janine would shake him to his core. You talk to little baby girl, she asserted, a sense of determination in her voice. She'll tell you I'm serious about my intentions. I'm not here to play around. What are you thinking? I want you to be my guy. That's it. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, Janine wasted no time diving into the details of her plan. But as the supposed hitman began to ask for specific information, a chilling and sinister side of Janine emerged, one that had remained hidden until now. But I mean, there's no mistake. He's bald and has no twin brother, she clarified, revealing the coldness beneath her calculating demeanor. Janine Jones had a chilling resolve about her plan to eliminate John. His family was far away in New York, and she showed no concern for his daughter, only viewing her as an obstacle. With an emotionless demeanor, Janine's calculated approach suggested this was not her first time orchestrating such a heinous act. She led the hitman to John's house, meticulously indicating the precise moment and method she desired for the strike. In a calm and stoic tone, Janine detailed her plan with unsettling clarity. She pointed to the house and stated, "This is the place. The neighbors are never around. Now, how do you want to do it?" She continued, her words chilling as she explained, "If you're thinking of snapping his neck, that's not how I feel about my... You understand, right? I will follow your lead on this." Her tone was eerily composed, masking the depth of her intent. "I can do it quickly," she said, revealing her violent nature. "You know I can burn him or snap his neck? Just tell me how you want it done. Let's make this straightforward." "I can execute it efficiently," Janine repeated, her insistence underscoring her dark determination. "Burn him out or snap his neck. Just advise me on your preferred method. Releasing him would certainly be the better option." Janine's fear was palpable as she admitted, "He knows too much about my life, and that knowledge could haunt me." In a calculated move, she handed the hitman a blueprint of John's house, ensuring he would navigate the scene effortlessly. Just when it seemed Janine was nearing the completion of her twisted plot, she escalated her demands by revealing an additional target. One thing he does is manage the house for me. He's involved in my life, yes. How do you want to handle that? Maybe something like a carjacking? Her insatiable greed became evident as she plotted to eliminate her current husband, Matthew Smith, as well. To Janine, Matthew's death would be more beneficial than his life, as she aimed to secure a significant insurance payout. With her first husband gone under suspicious circumstances, her heartless scheming showed no trace of remorse. The hitman and Janine swiftly agreed on a price for both murders. Without hesitation, she handed over the cash, solidifying her reputation as a rising black widow. I have one here. I've got two in my bank account. Once you execute this, that's it. Their agreement was sealed. Janine stepped out of the car to retrieve the remaining amount, oblivious to the trap she had unwittingly walked into. This meticulously planned ambush would unravel everything she believed she had orchestrated. It marked the beginning of a shocking series of revelations that would dismantle her carefully constructed facade. First, her trusted friend, whom she knew as Becky, was actually Amy Wright, a confidant with intimate knowledge of Janine's secrets. Then came the most staggering blow. The hitman she had hired to eliminate John was not a criminal, but an undercover officer named Dominic Harris. From the moment Janine expressed her murderous intentions, her friend Amy had been collaborating with law enforcement. Every detail of the setup was recorded, from their staged meeting to the chilling conversation that left Janine with no means of escape. The man she believed to be her enforcer was, in fact, an undercover detective closing in on her. As the enormity of her situation dawned on her, the walls began to close in. The overwhelming evidence against her painted a grim picture, leaving no doubt about the depths of her dark ambition. The truth was far from what Janine believed. From the orchestrated meeting to her discussions, every moment was captured on camera, leaving her trapped by the overwhelming evidence against her. The so-called hitman was, in fact, an undercover detective. Dominic Harris, an undercover agent with the Sarasota Police Department, played a pivotal role in the unfolding drama. Adopting the guise of a hitman, he gathered irrefutable evidence against Janine, tightening the noose around her criminal activities. The moment Janine realized the police were closing in, her expression shifted from shock to rage. "Oh my gosh, now the police are here!" she exclaimed, her anger boiling over as she grappled with the gravity of her situation. Her arrest was chaotic. As she was taken down, she scraped her knee and, overwhelmed, urinated in her shorts. On February 25, 2023, Janine was officially taken into custody, a stark turn for the woman who had once commanded her life with such apparent ease. A Northport woman now faced the chilling reality of being behind bars, accused of orchestrating a murder-for-hire plot. Authorities revealed she had attempted to have two individuals killed, one of whom was her own husband. James Jackson reported how her capture was orchestrated through the operation dubbed Black Widow. Investigators believe Janine's motivation for targeting Matt, her husband, was driven by the lucrative payout of his insurance policy. They wasted no time in alerting him to the sinister plot that had been unfolding right under his nose. The revelation stunned Matt, leaving him in disbelief. However, investigators suspected he might not be an innocent bystander. They believed he was complicit in Janine's fraudulent real estate activities. When confronted, Matt clammed up, expressing his desire to avoid further discussion with law enforcement. His silence raised red flags, further deepening suspicions about his involvement. Weeks of investigation culminated in enough evidence for the authorities to arrest him on March 15, 2023, for multiple counts of burglary and real estate fraud. As the web of deceit began to unravel, Janine's sinister intentions had already led to her arrest for plotting to murder not just one, but two individuals. The community braced itself for the chilling developments that lay ahead. With the truth of Janine's actions beginning to surface, community members grew increasingly wary of her behavior, particularly concerning the lives of others. Their astonishment at her plotting was palpable. Yet, despite the growing body of evidence and their increasing suspicion, no one was ready to deliver a conviction. In the minds of many, suspicion alone was insufficient. All Janine had shared was a vague account of a heart attack, devoid of details, leaving the question of Max's true fate hanging ominously in the air. The revelation of Max's heart attack came as a shocking blow to those close to him. Janine Jones, his wife, had been aware of his stomach issues but could offer no explanation for his sudden demise. Max's family, deeply concerned, clamored for answers, particularly about the necessity of an autopsy. When Janine adamantly refused an autopsy and insisted on cremation, she severed all connections with Max's family. This decision only fueled suspicions, leading to rampant rumors that spiraled through the community. In a disturbing twist, accusations began to surface on social media, suggesting Janine had a hand in her husband's death. Although friends and family had never considered her capable of such malevolence, the truth began to emerge, revealing a sadistic plot that was unraveling before their eyes. As the pieces fell into place, it became increasingly clear to those around her that Janine Jones might be involved in the murder of her previous husband, Max. Whispers about her intentions to have others eliminated for financial gain intensified. The shocking nature of these allegations was tempered by a grim understanding among her acquaintances. They had suspected all along that she could be responsible for Max's untimely death. These fears were echoed by her own family, who had their reservations about her character. Max's unexpected death was attributed to severe stomach issues that had plagued him for years, leading to significant weight loss and numerous hospital visits. Medical professionals struggled to identify a definitive cause, leaving the circumstances surrounding his death shrouded in mystery. In the immediate aftermath, the Northport Police Department sought to investigate Max's cremated remains, hoping to uncover the truth. However, their efforts hit a dead end. The remains provided no evidence to suggest foul play. Without any signs of homicide, they were left with only unanswered questions. Ultimately, the investigation pivoted, revealing that Janine Jones faced serious charges beyond the shadow of her husband's death. She was implicated in a murder-for-hire scheme and fraudulent activities tied to her real estate dealings. After his arrest in February 2023, Matthew Smith faced the consequences of his actions in January 2024. He was sentenced to 6 months in county jail, with evidence linking him to forgery. Alongside this, he received 4 years of probation and was ordered to pay $17,500 in restitution. Following the completion of his probation, Matthew Smith, through his attorney, expressed a willingness to engage in a plea deal. In this deal, he would testify against Janine Jones in her solicitation of murder trial, hoping for a more lenient sentence for himself. This offer, however, was swiftly rejected. I deemed it inappropriate to call him as a witness. The sting operation had already provided substantial evidence against Janine, making further testimony unnecessary. In court in 2024, Janine pleaded no contest to the solicitation charges. This meant she accepted the punishment without admitting guilt. Consequently, she was sentenced to 2 life sentences in prison without the possibility of parole. This marked a dramatic escalation from her previous scams. Janine's history was not merely limited to scams, it included attempted murder. Investigators also scrutinized the suspicious death of her ex-husband, Max Jones. Just prior to his death, Janine had insured him for a staggering $1 million. While no direct evidence could link her to his demise, the circumstances surrounding it raised profound concerns. Despite the unsettling questions, the lack of concrete evidence meant that no charges could be filed in relation to Max's death. Janine's judgment serves as a stark reminder of the severe legal repercussions tied to solitary crimes. She now resides in prison, serving 2 life sentences without the chance of parole. What began as a simple report of fraud spiraled into a convoluted investigation, ultimately leading to Janine's arrest before she could inflict further harm. The detectives effectively unraveled the case, delivering justice to the homeowners and the victims involved. Among those seeking justice was John Chamberlain, a man deeply betrayed by a longtime friend. As the court read Janine's sentencing, John's father turned to me, gripping my arm tightly, and expressed his gratitude, saying, "Thank you for getting justice for my boy. She deserves what she got." In that moment, we all shared a collective sense of justice. This case would go on to become notorious, infamously dubbed the Black Widow scam. However, the tragedy extended beyond just the immediate victims. Alexandria and Zachary Jones, Janine's children, were left to grapple with the loss of their father under suspicious circumstances, while also witnessing the devastation wrought by their mother's actions on the trust of those around them. The desire to communicate with her mother diminished significantly for Alexandria upon discovering the overwhelming evidence against Janine. Her respect for Janine evaporated, replaced by the painful realization of betrayal. The memory she cherished most about her father was hearing him express pride in her accomplishments. While some closure came from the resolution of the case, the emotional scars left by deception and betrayal would require time to heal. Although investigators were unable to conclusively determine the true cause of Max's death, the implications lingered heavily in the air. The lingering question remained, was Janine truly responsible for her ex-husband's untimely demise, or was it simply a tragic case of natural causes? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating true crime stories. If there's a particular case you would like us to delve into, please let us know your suggestions in the comments section. Your input is invaluable to us. Until next time, stay safe and continue watching our investigations.